blah blah. Once again, I find myself just by myself to discuss this episode of Boruto. We are talking about episode 21. This one's titled Sasuke and Sarada. I know that we have skipped a couple episodes starting from 19 and 20. Episode 19 and 20 are part of Gaiden, so I do believe that they need some coverage too. It's pretty much just starting up with like Sarada wondering more about her father. She pretty much kind of interrogates Sakura before she gets hospitalized for breaking down her own house, for getting mad at Sarada for questioning her. Naruto goes to meet up Sasuke. Sarada hears about this, goes follows them, gets in some trouble along with Chocho, and then they travel along with Naruto for their own safety. And now we find ourselves in episode 21 where they finally met up with Sasuke. Sasuke has Sarada at sword point, so that's not really looking great as a father figure, but it was just a totally big misunderstanding because of the fact that he's not used to seeing Sarada with the Sharingan, so it's like, oh shit, that's not really a good thing. But yeah, this is where Sarada starts to probe questions out of like her own frustration as to like, what has Sasuke been doing? Why has he always been like gone from the village? Why doesn't he ever go to see like Sakura and herself? And you know, Sasuke being is how he is, he answers with the answer that would probably distance himself from everyone else, and it's just saying, it has nothing to do with you. Of all the words to say, it's gotta be the one that's always so distant, and that's the worst answer you could possibly give to a daughter who just needs some answers as to who she is and who are these people in relation to her. Following after that, they do bring in a flashback to when Sasuke is about to head out on another like mission of his own. The whole point of the flashback was to explain to us, the viewers, why Sasuke never returns back for the most part. And the reason being is that like the things that he does, and that's just the trace where Kaguya's been and tried to eliminate any potential like threats that could harm the village. Only Sasuke can do that because he has the Rinnegan, because he has his power. It's also a journey of his own atonement for everything he has done, because apparently however long the time skip for like Shippuden to now is still not enough atonement for him. Though having said that, when there's a little nice shot of Sasuke just kind of looking at the sword, the little piercing that he'd made through the pillar, where he just kind of did that as kind of a threatening move to Sarada before he knew that was Sarada, and he's starting to really just kind of think about like, well shit dude, like this actually doesn't work well with me either, or sit well with me either. Definitely the biggest highlights for me was just like the encounter with Shin Uchiha, in which they've tracked them down. They're at the shrine. Shin, you find out that like the big dude who has like the weird like, well, he got Sharingans all over his like head, but like specifically on his like right side, it's weird, dude. Like I can't like they held that eye socket open, and it's just like another Sharingan eye. I don't know why it's there. It's probably just to creep the hell out of you. But essentially, this guy is trying to revive Akatsuki, and God, when I first read that, I'm pretty sure, yeah, I kind of forgot about it like when I was reading Gaiden. But yeah, the fact that he was wearing the Akatsuki shirt kind of reminds me of like every like Kingdom Hearts game where they bring in like a mysterious figure, and he has the Organization 13 Nobody cloaks. Aside from that little minor detail, you see Shin, that being the father, and then his son, pretty much ambushing Naruto and Sarada as they were like talking outside. Sarada wanted to go find Karin, who she doesn't know yet, but has the glasses, so she's gonna ask her. Naruto's begging Sarada to go back inside and ask Sasuke more questions, and then they get ambushed. Naruto quickly like deflects all the whatever the hell those weapons are. I guess they're just knives. Shin has this ability to manipulate all the objects that he has apparently touched and marked. He just has like manipulations of these various objects, whether it be people or like actual weapons. And so he has these like all these knives, like pretty much just homing in on Naruto and Sarada. So Naruto pulls up the entire like QB shield and has Sasuke go on the offensive. This is where you're gonna start to notice like a bit of the animation going in here. It's not great. I mean, it's passable because but it's passable to a point. I mean, there was a point where like, you know, Sasuke is trying to deflect all these knives that are being shot at him, and he's just like doing like a whole like on not so animated like circle of him like deflecting all of them like with his sword. It's kind of silly, but I mean, it's just get a pass for what it is. It does some really cool stuff. He tries to stab Shin with his sword. He grabs it, and that gives like his son, Shin's son, the opportunity to strike him. Sasuke uses the Rinnegan to trade places with him because that's what cool people do, and he uses the fire style fireball. And right at the last moment, Shin uses his son as a shield. He uses visual powers to move him behind him before the attack actually lands.
Ooh, that's
and
nasty.
so Shin's like really, and the son's like not dead, but just like gravely injured, while the other one's kind of okay. Sasuke like goes up for the offensive, only to be stopped when Shin like uses his eye power to use the marked sword that he just touched for grabbing Sasuke's sword and stabs Naruto with it. Therefore pinning him down, weakening the power of the QB shield for those knives that he threw originally to go back and set their course back on Naruto or Sarada. Sasuke like blocks it from Sarada. He gets stabbed quite a bit. Here comes Shin coming on the offensive, but then like Sakura comes out of nowhere and just like sucker punches him. And pretty much like makes him just unconscious for a little bit. And that's when we have the whole dynamic of Sakura confronting Sarada first over Sasuke. Sakura checks if Sarada is okay. She's totally fine, and then goes up to Sasuke to apologize, like, okay, I thought I made it clear to Sarada, but clearly it didn't really work, so I'm sorry. Sasuke was also going to apologize. Sasuke did kind of apologize. It was his fault, he said. And I guess he wanted to really say something to Sarada. But of course, you know, villains being villains, they interrupt that whole like potentially touching moment. They try to take Sarada. They take both the Shins. But Sakura pushes Sarada away, so Sakura gets taken instead. Sakura finds herself like in pretty much enemy territory around the middle of everything, where she is like at knife point with all these different little clone Shins. There's some really weird weapons that they got. Just the handle and everything. What are those weapons? Like, I've seen them in the manga, but Jesus, it's like, what's the practicality of it versus like a kunai? I mean, I guess like they're much more eviscerating, like they're gonna hurt if you get sliced or stabbed with them, but otherwise just like the handle, like the little that little cross handle is not, that thing is not gonna help you. Like, what is that? But yeah, so that's where Sakura is, and that's where the episode kind of ends off. Animation wise, I would say that episode 20 was actually like much more like animated, especially like in the fight scene with like Naruto versus Shin. But yeah, that's all I can really say as far as the animation there. Otherwise, it's pretty passable because it's just kind of characters just walking around, standing around, just talking, really. There actually is something I do want to point out, was the fact that like Naruto was pretty much in charge of protecting Sarada throughout the entire fight. It's kind of interesting now to see Naruto take that initiative. You know, we all know Naruto as in the boy who's gonna be the first one charging straight at the enemy, but this time he has much more of a priority, and that is to protect the children of Konoha. That's his main thing that he's got to do. That's actually pretty much it. I do like this episode. I think that this is one of my favorite moments, like within Gaiden, and that was just like the confrontation. I think my next favorite is going to show up in the next episode, and I would say that's when Naruto and Ko are kind of regrouping to figure out like, okay, Sakura's gone missing, we gotta go rescue her, where is the enemy? And so they go and confront Orochimaru, and this is where Sarada learns a little bit more there, but I'll talk about it more like when the episode hits. But what it looks like is that based on the preview, the episode will probably go for as long as Sarada learning just a little bit more about like her own hair, like where she comes from or how she was delivered initially. And I think that's where it's going to end, because I think that's a really good I think that's a good cliffhanger for those who've never watched or ever read the manga. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good stopping point there. By the looks of things, they could just have this done in 5 to 6 episodes in total, starting from 19 all the way to I can do math. I can do math, just not right now. But that's pretty much it. That's a pretty solid episode overall. There's something I do want to mention is that like they're doing a really good job so far, just kind of portraying Gaiden without any kind of shortcuts here and there. Sure, they had to. The only like tiny little thing that they had to add was just Mitsuki all over the place. I don't think I've seen Mitsuki in the Gaiden chapters at all, but that's pretty much the only real difference between all of them. And I think I'm pretty much good here as far as the discussions on like this episode. Again, solid. And yeah, I guess that'll be it. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next discussion of Boruto. #bye.